Now live on SiriusJoy.com, Moon Wisdom, what the Sagittarius new and full moon will mean to you. Hello, my friends. This week, a turn in the story, a major one. I predict that 1/3 of the population is going to realize that what you believe in yourself is actually true, even though it's hard to believe. 1/3 of us will actually realize that what we believe in ourselves was BS. And 1/3 of us just simply don't know what to believe. But here's the deal. Saturn goes direct. That means we're taking names. Welcome to Namaste Today, the Soul Horoscopes, and the Zodiac Weather. I'm Sensei Christopher Witecki, your host and teacher every week. That's what Sensei means. It's always a pleasure to come back. This is almost my 20th year, and I got to say, I love talking about horoscopes. So I hope you enjoy it too, and I thank you for watching. We're in an interesting time right now. If you haven't noticed, I mean, yes, there's stuff going on, but spiritually, there's some deep, deep stuff going on. We've wrapped up Scorpio, and Scorpio is where you draw the line. You cut the line and say, that's it. You cross my line, or this is going to, and this is the final, and da-da-da. Basically, just drawing our lines, which means a lot of change. And as we find ourselves cut off from something or someone or a power situation that we had, and maybe alone for a moment, this first week of Sagittarius is going to be about, well, what do you believe about yourself anyways? What do you really believe? Now, here's the interesting thing. I don't know if you've been actually acting like you really believe. I think we've all been pretending, all of us. I think that I was afraid, for instance, me, I was afraid to tell you what I believed. You'd think I was cuckoo, right? I mean, you will when you find out. But the point is, like, we've all held in. I mean, even light workers talk about that, how we were afraid to talk about what we believed in. And to this day, if I met like someone in the government, I don't know if I would tell them what my theory of the moon is. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm being looked at as cuckoo. But what's happening is that because the world's becoming cuckoo itself, well, I might as well believe in myself then, believe my way. But universe and spirit wants it that way. This is an opportunity of creation here on earth. If it's creation, it means it's what you believe is good, what you believe is bad, and that's will be what bees. And today, through the next week, basically, you're going to be looking at your core beliefs in yourself. Ask yourself, does your heart really believe that? Are you going to really move forward with that? With the world in chaos, this would be the time to do a wardrobe change or to do something different. And you're going to feel that belief, and I think you're going to feel that momentum. But for many people, I think what this is going to be is you've always believed something in your heart, but you never really did anything about it. And that's what's exciting. I believe that the joy that we have ahead on the earth, I believe we're going to come out great. I think we're going to come out as the happiest world in the galaxy. But to get there, we have to first believe in ourselves. So in some ways, this is the magical turning point. This is sort of like when Dorothy realizes what her slippers do, or when Merlin realizes what his wand can do. You realize that belief in yourself is really all you need to have in order to believe in anything. It's sort of like when you get a genie and you ask for 3 more wishes as one of your wishes, right? It's infinite. It goes on forever. But it all stems down to believing in yourself, which comes down to what your heart feels is true. That's what we teach at Serious Joy, and that's what we'll teach you today and for the next month. Now, interestingly enough, this does mean that the story is changing. So I know for 20 years you were this, and for, yada, 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 you were the president of that, but that's not how you're going to identify anymore, because that part of you was based on your healing. And what the astrology shows us is God has already given you all the chances you can get this life to heal that old stuff. We're done. We're moving on. We got stuff to do, right? We've got the future to make. And so really from this belief structure change on, it's sort of like a re-scripting of the novel. You're going to re-script what the story's about, who you are, and where you come from, your backstory. You could say, actually, that's what you're rewriting this week, is your backstory. Now, our theme of the week, well, first of all, let's talk about our theme of the month. The theme of all Sagittarius for this year is culminating truth and purpose. We're going to come to realization by the end of Sag what our truth and our purpose are for ourselves and our heart. And after we come to that realization, we realize that we've got to believe in our transformation. You got to believe that it can happen. Sometimes life is so realistic, we start to think that we're stuck in it. We forget that it's artificial. And if you don't believe that, well, stick with me for a few more years. You will after time. The question of the week, well, actually the statement of the week that we're doing is time to own up to everything you have learned so far. Time to put all of your wisdom into this wonderful chest of knowledge and start to bank on that knowledge. You now have enough life experience, especially with overcoming your karma, that puts you to the front row of something. It can't happen unless you own what you know. And when you say own it, it's because your heart believes it, and so it is. So I think we have a lot of experts coming out of the woodwork, so to speak. The key question we're asking our audience to ask this week is, how am I using my independent agency to expand faith in my new story. So how can my independence give me faith about life? What strength do I have in myself that gives me the faith to say, yes, this is who I am, take it or leave it? I remember when I told people I was a psychic astrologer and how their eyes rolled, but you know what actually got me through? I believed it. And they were thinking at the time, I think, well, he's either crazy, but he believes it. So what do we say to a person like that obviously believes it, what they're saying? Normal time, what we say is, okay, I believe you too. So believe it or not, beliefs are based on you believing, not they believing. And that's where it kind of starts this week. But before we dive into the school of beliefs, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather.
Thanks, Sensei. This zodiac weather report covers from Saturday, November 22nd to Friday, November 28th, 2025, and is proudly sponsored by Sea Chi Organics. Sea Chi botanical products are handcrafted by a group of amazing women, herbalists, and aromatherapists inspired to consciously infuse love and blessings into every item made for timeless beauty. This holiday season, use code JOY30 at checkout to receive 30% off an individual purchase. Happy holiday wishes from the Sea Chi family. Looking ahead at your weekend forecast, we have a new story brewing as the sun enters Sagittarius. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and clearing as the sun enters Sagittarius. After the intensity of Scorpio season, today will feel like taking a big inhale. Allow for full expression of the optimist, as a moon also in Sag can bring out the philosopher when it comes to repeating patterns. Intend that I believe in space, as you affirm that I am holding space to revisit old stories. On Sunday, it's sunny and strong as step 1 Sag is asking for us to believe in love today. A moon in Capricorn suggests that whatever the heart wants, it is worthy of building. So affirm that I am aiming for my heart's wishes despite fears. As the sun sextiles Pluto at 2:19 p.m., note that whatever is being loved and felt is gospel today. Hold on to it to transform. Taking a look at the upcoming week, the new story gets some new beginnings with rewriting those self-beliefs. On Monday, feelings pick up on valuable intel, while frustration brews over plans needing to be redrawn. On Wednesday, the old way is wanting to be let go, while the new is untrusted, and Thanksgiving Day begins to see the gears of momentum turn while understanding next steps. Let's take a peek. On Monday, it's partly cloudy and humid, as 2 degrees Sagittarius is believing deeply to parse through all of the feelings on the table in order to gain a greater sense of self-belief. To keep on this winding road, affirm that I am untangling unresolved feelings from my beliefs. Uncomfortable is the name of the game, as at 8:32 in the morning, Mars in Sagittarius squares the north node of fate, leading the future path through an unexpected obstacle despite motivation. Later that evening, Venus conjuncts Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, opening to processing transformation differently based on what may be picked up today. Open to beliefs that can be trusted and feel through old stories to create a new. Tuesday is sunny and rockin', as Grand Master Step 3 Sagittarius builds once to build big new beliefs in the self. A moon in Aquarius gives detachment, but also big picture thinking on what chapters have yet to be written. Intend that I believe in my story and affirm that I am connecting to my heart's highest story. Wednesday is partly cloudy and pensive, as we are believing where we belong today and also recognizing where we may not belong. Feel out where there may be changes with the moon in Aquarius while remaining detached, honest, and probing today. To ride the waves, affirm that I am ironing out my feelings to belong, as you unplug from what no longer serves to plug into something that does. Venus opens that door to transformation as she trines Jupiter and Saturn today, easing into direction and aiding feelings and choosing the right direction. Thursday is partly sunny and clearing, bringing in understanding of new beliefs in the self after yesterday's reshuffling. A moon in Pisces brings in some dreaminess with some compassion, so feel out the boundaries of the new understanding before sitting down to dinner today. Late in the evening, however, some good news as Saturn stations direct, so expect the gears of projects and plans to begin to turn, starting from here on out. Friday is sunny and stabilizing. After a topsy-turvy week of learning new self-beliefs, it is time to own them. I believe in my options is the root intention of the day, and a moon in Pisces crossing over the nodes brings in heavenly insight and direction. To get to gold at the end of the rainbow, affirm that I am accepting new direction to commit to my divine calling, because owning you is the calling to commit to. So all in all, an eye-opening week of learning what you can count on inside of yourself. So give thanks for that insight this Thanksgiving Day. Back to you, Sensei.
Happy holidays! I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. For the past 30 years, our goal has been to bring the healing power of plants into your everyday life with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. CT makes a wonderful gift for the holidays. Enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual CT skin and hair care product.
Happy holidays!
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or again previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or again just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding onto residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space and your life.
Well, we enter into I Believe, the conscious of belief structure this week. We go, as you know, from step 1 to step 6. Energetically, we fall in love with ourselves and our story, and we sort of ratify it by the end of the week. We accept it or don't accept it. It's funny because throughout your lifetime, you'll find that you believe different things about yourself, or you cycle around different beliefs about yourself. But this time, you may actually believe something you've never believed before, because we have done so much clearing this year. This is the most exhausted year I've ever lived as far as facing some of the old shadows, the patterns, etc. And so a lot of what we believed in the past about ourselves had to do with us overcoming these issues. It had to do with us coming into the light of understanding. It wasn't necessarily what we believed about ourselves had those things not been around. So this week is mostly about exploring yourself in the first token, in the sense of whether or not the rest of you agrees with your belief structure. Now, if you study step astrology at SeriousStory.com, you know that a belief is something that your heart, step 1, feels, step 2, is true. And that truth is step 3, I believe. And so the first core of this really begins over the weekend, when we will start to feel energetically the beginning of Sagittarius. Then we go into the heartfelt truth on Sunday. And then come Monday, how do you feel? Because Monday is going to kind of reveal to you whether or not you feel you're in sync with yourself or not. And if you don't feel in sync with yourself, that means something is no longer applicable in your beliefs. You used to believe it. It was in your consciousness. It was in your story. You told everyone about it. But now it just doesn't feel right to say that about yourself. A lot of times people this year will be kind of overcoming their victim consciousness. And I mean that with the most respect. But a lot of us always kind of introduce ourselves as the person who survived this or the person who survived that. And I authentically feel that people are just tired of that story. They want to not even introduce themselves from that perspective. I also feel that people are going to graduate major eras. Like, I am now a person who is an empty nester. I'm a person who is now divorced or married. Or, I am now exploring this new independence when it comes to my contracting in my career. So to some degree, this logical, obvious things that change the story you tell yourself. But for the most part, I think it's going to come down to your spiritual arc. In other words, how you have spiritually grown. Saturn in Pisces again, Neptune back in Pisces again, is basically taking tally of that right now, saying, hey, What have we learned? What has our spirit grown from this point to this point in our life, particularly over the last 12 years, or at least going back to 2012 when Neptune entered into Pisces and we had that Mayan calendar crisis, remember? Well, now as we go forward, we're telling ourselves a new story. And that means that because we tell ourselves a new story, right around the corner, we start talking about a new place and a belonging. We have new characters in the story. We'll have new plot. And before you know it, the earth will not be recognizable. In fact, I argue that by Aquarius, we will find ourselves in a very different world, at least in our day-to-day lives, that is, as far as how the world is and how the world isn't. Now, one other interesting point about this week is that Saturn will go direct. So no longer are we going to make decisions about what our karma is and isn't. We literally decide and commit to our spiritual story, our calling, if you will, our mission. And with Neptune at 29, anything is possible. Anything. Really, the universe is just opening up its doors and saying you can manifest anything you seek or desire from any lifetime of any dimension, frankly. I mean, that's how it's interpreted. The other aspect, of course, is the Mercury retrograde. We're still rethinking how we think about ourselves, and we're still thinking what we're mostly emotionally comfortable with and what we're not emotionally comfortable with. And although we are done with the Scorpio transit, we're still going to be thinking a lot about whether or not we feel comfortable going forward with this new story. So it's a very pensive week. It's a very detached week. You're basically culminating all of your truth about your purpose, and you are realizing what you've learned so far. The key question for this week, by the way, is how am I using agency to expand in the new story? So how are you using your own personal power and your own personal freedom to expand faith in your new story? What about you, uniquely you, gives you the faith to pull it off? I'll tell you this, as a person does nothing but counsel people on their life purpose, the life purpose always comes down to what your heart wished it was. It's not what you're told to be or your parents told you were talented at. It's what your heart wished it was. So in some regards, what you wish is what you really believe. It's just hard to believe it. So in each of the 12 horoscopes, we're going to talk about where each of the signs are, first of all, entering into Sagittarius, entering into that belief structure. Where are you writing that new belief structure about yourself? And what are you up against energetically with Gemini? And then with Mars in Sagittarius, that's going to square the North Node, there's going to be a change, a turning point in your story. We'll talk about that turning point, and we'll talk about where that turning point is for you specifically. And then lastly, Saturn direct. What does it mean? Are there any consequences? Where should you have decisions made up? We'll talk about that all in each of the 12 signs. Aries, welcome back. I have to say the Arii are going through some tremendous transformation in my witness of this year. And so I'm not surprised that you will believe in yourself in a whole new way. In fact, I feel that Sagittarius is a time for you to really explore your options because it's fiery just like you and open and free just like you. And that's what you need, frankly, for boundaries. It's almost like it was written perfectly for you. Well, that said, in the boundaries of your conscious of belief, you, I think, are exploring a whole new territory as far as why you believe in yourself. You've always believed in yourself, I think, because you've gotten things done, accomplished. You've had the superlatives, the best, the greatest, the fastest, the largest, the first. And I feel like that is no longer part of why you believe in yourself. I feel like, for one, your heart does definitely believe in yourself authentically. Like your heart does feel that you're awesome. And I wouldn't say that was the case a long time ago. I think Chiron has helped you to heal that part of yourself where in many cases of Aries, it was just like ego to prove and act like you were there, but you weren't really there. And we knew you weren't really there. And we sort of knew you were faking it till you made it, and your score was like maybe a, 87 B plus, but you were claiming A's. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, okay. But now I think you don't claim it unless you have it. And I think what's really changed is self-love. The self-love aspect for you has become authentic. It's no longer based on someone else's perception of you is what I'm realizing. I think Pluto and Capricorn really helped that to take away, giving your power away to your career or your resume or your reputation. And with Pluto and Aquarius now in the 11th, you're claiming it back. You're saying, hey, I'm going to decide who I am in the world, who I'm not in the world. And that's kind of interesting because, the age of Aquarius is about independence. It's about uniqueness. And that's one thing you've never had any problems with. So you're natural born leaders in the age of Aquarius just by being who you are. So in essence, this is your life's purpose that you're now reevaluating. You're heading for a new meaning in life, something that gives you greater fulfillment. And it's not just physical anymore. It's not just, heavy weights that you have to carry across, the yard or, plowing the fields. Because Aries have done a lot of hard labor, frankly, because you guys work hard like crazy. You're incredible workers. Now, I think the turning point, which happens on the 24th, when we have basically this square happening with Mars and Sag and the North Node in Pisces, this is a turning point where I feel your heart's going to realize that your soul's come to do something else you hadn't thought about. And I think maybe you had thought about it, but you sort of dismissed it really easy and really early. And so this turning point is like, hey, and this was new too, that your soul's telling you, not your ego, not your worldly desires, your soul's telling you that it's time to go for a certain direction. I think it's going to surprise a lot of your friends and family, whatever it happens to be. And it most likely has to do with some sort of an intellectual pursuit or some sort of a message. So the universe is giving you a thumbs up on that. And I would say until that happens, we don't quite know fully. But with Saturn stationing direct in Pisces now, it means that you're done with your karma for 30 years. Be happy. Saturn now goes into your sign, which may sound like tough work, but honestly, I find that when Saturn's in my sign, I feel stronger. I'm more responsible. I get shift done. I run on perfect time. And so really, the universe is bringing you like the greatest coach in the world to help you be the greatest version of yourself. And that's what I recommend. I recommend you find the part of yourself you love the most and make it the best. Taurus, as you well know, after spending an entire month focusing on emotional boundaries and relationships, it's now time to do your second round of boundaries in general. That's right. Tauruses always get 2 months of every lesson. People don't know that, but we do everything twice in a row. And this time it's going to focus on your boundaries as it relates to your philosophy and as it relates to what you believe about yourself. And that's what's compelling. What you believe about yourself is actually changing, because what you believe about yourself comes down to whether or not you trust yourself. And I believe that Tauruses do trust themselves, but I believe that Tauruses have allowed the world to define, their progress instead of themselves, because Tauruses are reluctant to use boundaries. You're a step 10. That's love and boundaries. But you really only like, drawing circles when it comes to how much money you're making or your abundance. You don't really like to say no to anybody. You don't like to disturb the peace, and you like to just be left alone to do what you want to do. Chew that curd. So boundaries are what it's about, friend. And boundaries are a Taurus's best friend, because a 10 can become a million, just a few zeros, right? And also you can raise the value of yourself just by putting some distance between you and what your customer base is. It's interesting how this works, but most importantly this week, it's about where do you draw the boundary with yourself? Where do you say, this is too much and this is okay? And do you find that Goldilocks zone where it's like just right? So you're looking to find the just right portion and your philosophy about it for the next 6 steps, basically. Your heart, where the boundaries with your heart, where feelings, your beliefs about yourself, where the boundaries there. Where do you belong with yourself or not? And by the way, you belong loving yourself all the time. A cow's going to do nothing but just constantly eat, right, to make all that milk. And I believe we should bring the feminine cow, not just the bulls. So I feel like this is going to be a huge transformation for you. You've been preparing for transformation for 30 days. And that's what people don't realize, is that it takes 2 months for you to do everything. That's why you're so damn slow, because you look at things very thoroughly. And that's why you're so stable, not stubborn. So now that you've explored where the line could be, you'll actually be drawing the line where it should be or will be with the sun in Sagittarius. Firstly, with yourself and how you make distinctions within yourself. Distinctions are also an important thing. Sometimes you let things bleed together, and they need to understand they have independent contracts or independent lives inside of you. So sometimes it's just about understanding these different unique parts of yourself that bring greater trust. Now, the square, which is going to be the turning point of the story, is between Mars and Sagittarius, which is transformation, and also the 11th house, which is social ambition. So you're going to find that one of the two may trigger the other. You may realize, you know what? I'm no longer desired to be this in society. And so as a result, I'm going to change some boundaries to myself. I'm going to say no to this, and yes to this. Or it could be the opposite. It could be that you say, I'm tired of being this way to the world. I'm tired of sharing all this with the world. I'm tired of being maybe locked away from the world since COVID. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. But that would then say, okay, well, if I'm tired of this, then that means I need to change a different, persona in the public, or pursue a different path in the public, or whatnot. So somewhere this week, change turns into a change in society as well. And then, of course, Saturn goes direct this week. And Saturn direct says, Pisces, you have finished already your karma with society. You owe society nothing. So at this point, it's only a gift. There's nothing to do. I can't imagine, unless you're very young and like 2 and watching this, if you're under 15, it doesn't matter. You're going to do something anyways, but probably over age 15 to 17, that's it. You've actually played your karma out very young, if that's the case. And so now it's time to decide, well, what do you want to be? In fact, in some regards, Tauruses are more free to be who they want to be for the first time in centuries. Maybe since the age of Taurus, I don't know. Either way, it's time to decide what gifts you want to give and what gifts you want to keep for yourself. That's an important one. Hello, Gemini. Welcome back. Well, this month, as the sun is in Sagittarius, it's your opposite sign. This is your anti-birthday period, by the way, the part of you that you don't really share with the world. Your partner may know it. Your best friends may know it. The people who spend the most intimate time with you know this side of you. And did you know that this side of you is a philosopher? That's right. Behind all that jibber jab, you are actually a philosopher to yourself, basically. And you have a lot of philosophies you're always exploring. Now, one of the greatest philosophies is what you believe about yourself. I've got to say that in this area, Geminis have been, from what I experienced, incorrect. And you may go, who are you to judge? I get paid to give you readings. I know. I look at what you are. I look at what you say you are. And I'm like, no, that's not true. That's what I'm seeing. Quite often, I find that Geminis, because the mind demands evidence, they undercut their potential incredibly. And so you don't really believe in yourself because you haven't proven it. But that's not how the universe works. If you study the step system, you know that it is the belief that comes before the thought, before the fact. So if you don't have the belief, you won't have the evidence you're looking for. So I feel that you're going to do a major upgrade now, so particularly people with Pluto and Sagittarius, that generation, which was born like from 1996 upward, I think like 2008. That generation in particular is going to be making major overhauls in what you believe about yourself. You're going to probably have like a night and day realization where suddenly you never had confidence in yourself. Now you have total confidence with yourself. Try not to be extreme, try to be subtle. But overall, you're going to believe something about yourself and therefore now need to treat yourself differently. So if you now believe in yourself as not a mechanic, but rather a philosopher, well then, treat your hands a lot better. Wear gloves. You need to have manicured hands. Now, the issue with the square, where there's a turning point, happens between marriage and partnership and legacy and leadership. So you're going to ultimately have some sort of a tug of war this week about your career and your partnerships. And you have to find the resolution between the two. Ultimately, the one part that can always be kind of done again is the part that's dealing with the marriage. So Mars and Sag is like this every year. You'll deal with that. But the career legacy stuff, this is once in a lifetime or once every 18 years anyway. So I would say if there's a favor to choose, go more with your career's needs than your partnerships at this time. And then Saturn direct says the same, that it's now time to decide who you are and what your legacy is going to be. You've done all the karma now and paid all the karmic dues when it comes to career, legacy, parenting, leadership, these types of Capricorn things. And so now there's no karmic debt to pay. It's a matter of what do you want to do? Where do you want to make your impression? What is your spiritual calling? How will you make a spiritual influence on the planet? That's really the question with Saturn now direct. And I feel that Geminis are probably going to think of something really unique because with Uranus and Gemini, your mind is exploding and opening up to higher levels every minute of the day for the next 7 years. So whatever you decide, keep an open mind. Well, energetically, the story that you tell yourself really comes down, in your case, with your lifestyle and how you live day to day. You sort of live what you believe, and you practice what you believe in the moment. And so in this way, Cancers are very, very loyal to their belief structure. When you meet a Cancer who is a diehard anything, it's diehard. Like they get into it, right? You believe in that life and you live that life. But what you believe about yourself actually first comes down to your health. So in this first week, I think you're going to look at your beliefs about your health. Then this can come out in many ways, that maybe you feel like you're aging, or perhaps you just had a baby, or perhaps, you're at some sort of turning point in your life, maybe coming out of athletics or, anything of that sort as a trigger. But what's really about is changing the philosophy about how you live in the moment. And I have to underscore that how you live in the moment is not just your body, it's the mood you are in. So do you live in a happy, jovial mood, optimistic every day? Or do you live in a mood that's kind of somewhat of the dark side of the moon, fearing the next thing to come, worrying about being alone? How you live in the moment is your philosophy of life. And if you adopt a philosophy of life and adopt it in the moment, you're going to find that your life brings you exactly what you want and to where you want to go and where you want to grow. Well, the drama really happens actually on a step 2 day, this Monday, because there'll be a square. This square is calling for you to sort of make an understanding between two parts of your life. One, your life's purpose. Are you here for the reason you think you're here? Are you doing what you think you're here to do? Are you living by what you believe in the big picture of things? And are you incorporating spirituality into that? Because if you're a spiritual person, that's important as far as your purpose is concerned. But your purpose also comes down to your daily moment. Are you living in that purpose in the moment? Are you living by that philosophy and belief in the moment? And the answer will probably be no, because you've had so much spiritual growth. A lot of your belief structure and purpose has changed. And so you're going to find that your life has also have to change this week. And it's not just going to be about philosophy. It's going to be about actually accepting this in yourself and starting to live it inside yourself. So first and foremost, it's time to decide what sort of belief you have about present life and how the moment's supposed to be. And then secondly, what should it be? By the way, the word should always refers to our belief structure. Now, Saturn going direct is a biggie for you because Saturn going direct in Pisces means it's now time to live by your purpose. Saturn and Neptune have creeped back into this life of purpose and belief structure because Cancers are about to go make a new name for themselves in their career. Saturn Aries means that you're going to be making your own dent and leaving your gifts behind on the world with the world. And for the first time, I think Cancers will be doing it non-codependent. In other words, you will be autonomous. You'll be in your emotional authenticity, I would say, and sovereignty. Well, keep up the good work and live by the moment. I'll see you next week. I have good news for you. This is going to be a fun transit if you do the work correctly, and that is to get to the core of your inner child. Sagittarius, for you, your philosophy of life comes down to play. How you relate to your own inner child, how you express your heart, how you express your creativity. That's what a Leo is really about, that shining bright like the sun of just energy and rays and creativity and inspiration out in all directions. But the question is, do you believe in that inside yourself? Are you setting yourself up for that? Or maybe you have a change of philosophy. A lot of Leos I know have changed their approach to the world. You once thought you had to be the star. Now I see Leos okay with being the support to the star. Still want to be close to the power and close to the star, but now they don't have to be the star. Their wife or their husband can be the star, and they'll sit in the backstage and wait for them to get off stage. But it's an interesting transition as we have Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius is also called for you to sort of take a different position with yourself, to really provide for yourself the self-love protection you need, the self-nurturing that you need. And so you've never been more autonomous and sovereign, let's say, than any time than this one right now with Leos. So you're going to change your philosophy about self-love. What does self-love really mean to you? And I should tell you, and I say it all the time, self-love is an inside job. It should not involve anything outside of you whatsoever. It has to do with that quiet, relationship the king or queen has with themselves on the inside. You're going to recognize this week that your approach was maybe not the most loving or the most royal of approach, and that you have to approach yourself much more royally or lovingly to get what you want in life, including your personal dreams, which is where this ends. If you're not treating your heart right, your heart's not going to give you the creative genius to go do some masterpiece, right? So the story really shifts, I think, on Monday when we have the square that happens between Mars and the North Node in Pisces. And it's at step 14. That means that you're going to come to heart's belonging. You're going to realize my heart belongs in a different place. On one sense, it belongs in a different place when it comes to boundaries. You're going to decide some people are getting in, some people are not getting in anymore. You're going to basically get rid of some people in the castle and say, just not working out for me anymore. And that's going to give you the freedom to actually breathe in your heart and do more things in your heart that you've never ever done before. So this is going to give you an opportunity really to move forward with maybe a project or something creatively that you've felt held back due to boundary issues. Whether those issues are you not having them or not enforcing them or someone walking over them, could be a number of things. But it will be a turning point come Monday. So look out for that. But in the big picture of things, with Saturn direct now in Pisces, it means that you are now ready to take responsibility for changing your whole life. We're about to see Leos become butterflies. We're about to see you become into a whole new version of you. And I don't even think you have a preview of what it's like yet, but I know this, it's going to be exciting. And because you come from the heart, it's going to be sparkly. Sagittarius for you, and your belief in yourself comes down to your feelings. And that's something you may not realize, that you're actually 11 net 2. You're actually ruled by your feelings. Your net step is I feel. That's why Virgos are so moody, frankly, about all sorts of things, because you are constantly in your emotion. And whether you believe in yourself or not, quite often is attached to how well you feel. So believe it or not, if you just feel good, you're going to believe in yourself. It's kind of an automated pilot. But that said, you are changing your philosophy about your feelings, your philosophy about home and family, and your philosophy about how you feel about life. And that's going to be the one thing necessary to change your feelings in general. So in this first 6 steps that we're doing this week, you're exploring what you have believed about feelings. Did your parents, tell you that feelings are, a waste of time? Were you ridiculed for your feelings? Have you believed that your feelings were misleading you, or maybe not really part of reality? Whatever you believed, it's changing now. And this will give you some incredible freedom to move forward, because you may not realize that you've been living under some of your own philosophies with a brilliant mind context at that. So this is the hard part about being brilliant. You can be brilliantly stupid, right? And brilliantly stuck. Now, with that said, the square on Monday between the North Node and Mars will be some sort of a conflict where you've got to resolve your philosophy about how you feel, and then with Pisces, relationships. So your approach to relationships is sort of snagging and getting in the way with your approach to nurturing yourself. Something's going to have to give. You'll find what can give when you do the heart's belonging perspective. So forget what you think, which is what you'll be obsessing on. You'll want all the facts, all the information, all the conversations you have with that person. It doesn't matter. really just focus on what does your heart belong with? Does your heart belong with that person? Does your heart belong taking care of yourself and moving past this particular relationship? Or does your heart belong finding a compromise between relationships and home, family, and stability? Whatever it is going to be a big one, because I think that you quite often have allowed your relationships to throw you off balance. And you're a Virgo. You're here to be perfection, right? And feelings are meant to be the expression of you, not the detriment of you. So I think there's a change there. Now, the square that happens then, of course, leads to a Saturn direct in Pisces, which means you're also sort of having one last look in this lifetime of what marriage partnership is to you. And I didn't say you're having the last love of your life, but I don't think you're going to change the structure of what you're aiming for again after this. You're going to decide that your spiritual legacy or your spiritual direction in relationships is going to be something that you hadn't maybe decided before, or maybe you were there and you left. I don't know what the story is, but I do know this. Once this decision is made with Saturn direct, that's it for Virgo issues with relationships. It moves on to the next big topic, which will be intimacy. We'll talk about that later. Sagittarius for you is kind of funny because it's opposite of Aries always, but it's also opposite of what we normally understand things to be. Usually in the house of thinking, you focus on thinking. But for you in the house of thinking, you focus on stories, narratives, archetypes, and understanding. Your mind likes to process and understand things. But the issue is astrologically, you're not really built that way. You're built to communicate according to your social values. You're meant to communicate and process information according to your beliefs, or at least according to your beliefs as it relates to someone else's beliefs. And yes, you can incorporate everyone's beliefs, but I don't think you've really believed in yourself before you did that. So the big change having for Libras is, I believe you're going to say to yourself, I believe in myself, and that's all I need to know is that I believe. And that's huge because you're the relationship king or queen. For you to say, I'm just ruling on my own is a big deal. So be proud of that. I think it's pretty cool for y'all. Now, that said, that will lead to a new way of attitude and communication and probably all sorts of business deals. This change in believing in yourself in a different way is going to change everything on the map. Now, the real change actually happens on Monday when the North Node will square Mars. Mars is in Sag. North Node is in Pisces. This square for you means that you'll be stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to something you want to say or communicate, and also something that you have to express in yourself in daily life, something that deals with day-to-day life, day-to-day work. And the thing about the Mars aspect is, with Mars, we're talking about your ego. And, you actually are a very spiritual person when it comes to your daily life. You pretty much walk the spiritual path. But here you are going to be kind of aggro about it. So I guess what I'm saying is, universe is basically giving you, permission to go ahead and aggro out and demand your way, just as long as your heart belongs with it. That's the key question. Now, in the bigger picture of things, Saturn direct means that you're taking one last look at what lifestyle ought to be. And you really haven't, the lifestyles you've chosen so far, whether it was on the lake or on the ocean or, in the city, whatever that lifestyle was or location, it was all based on your pain and your past life karma. The astrology says that you haven't ever had a chance to choose your daily life according to what you wish it could be. You've always just compromised. You've always just responded, reacted, that wonderful thing that you are, sort of a service light worker provider in the moment. So you've been just bouncing off of things, but you've never really said, you know what? I want a life like this. This is what I deserve. I don't think you've ever owned that you deserve it either. So Saturn direct says, hey, let's make some real choices. What do you wish your life could be like? Start aiming for it. It's not that impossible. Frankly, it's your destiny, because now that you've learned your spiritual karma, you're not going to have anything in your daily life, work, etc., take you down. It's all wisdom now. If anything, you're the teacher. Hello, Scorpios. Welcome back. Sagittarius for you actually deals with money manifestation and materialization. Did you know that? That you make money according to your beliefs, according to your religion, and according to what your heart feels is true? Would you also believe that when it comes to what your worth is, you're way behind the times? I think you haven't updated that book of knowledge on why you're valuable in quite a long time, and taken real inventory of what belief about yourself leads to what potential in marketplace, potential in retirement, potential in everything, purchases, etc. And a lot of Scorpios have sort of, it's funny, you talk to me like you're matter of fact, like, hey, this is the way the world is. They're just not paying. No, your philosophy is the world's not paying. Mine isn't. I'm a Taurus, you're opposite. I know that pisses you off. And you point something out wrong with me, but that's how we do as opposites. But the point is, like, if you believe you're worth $1 million, then so will the world. It's that simple. And it's kind of crazy that you can get away with it. So you're going to believe in yourself, and you must believe in your self-worth. You must believe in your value, your inherent value to any situation, what you bring to the table as valuable. And that multiplies according to who you bring, what table you go to. but really architecting a strong belief in yourself that you're worth it. You're worth it. You're worth it. Even if you can't pronounce the word. Now, the square that I mentioned with the North Node and also with Mars, happens on Monday. And that's going to be a big turning point, a really big one, because you're going to realize that your heart wants something. And because your heart wants something, you have to change, right? Or will you not? That's kind of the universe giving you the final straw. Like, look, you can have what your heart wants if you just change, right? A lot of times Scorpios don't change because they don't want to let down that wall. But that's just poor wall keep. You can learn how to put up walls, keep them up, have someone else guard it for you, all sorts of things in sophistication. So you're going to realize that there's a personal way to make money and have your dreams come true at the same time. I would say that up until now, most Scorpios I talk to don't believe the two can actually happen. They'll tell me, oh, my dreams are this, but it's really just a hobby. They'll tell me they're kind of dabbling with it. And there's not this full belief that you can make money out of, enjoying the hell of your life, but you can. And so look out for that observation. Now, Saturn in Pisces says it's time. It'll be 30 years before Saturn helps Scorpios have their dreams come true again. The last time was 1994. It's the last time the universe cared about you having your dreams come true. So take advantage. That means that you have the authority. People are listening. You have the networking. You have the potential. And you have Neptune there at 29, which means you can create something we've never seen before and still get it financed. It's an interesting time, but you've got to be mindful of your heart and mindful of what you really believe versus what you tell yourself. Because we all know that, Scorpio, you talk. The Sagittarius is happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday. This is a very powerful birthday year for you if you don't know, because you're going to have a whole new philosophy about philosophy. Whereas other people in the world are going to change what they believe. And now they believe in Santa Claus, or now they believe in, Christ, whatever. You actually have no problems ever believing what you believe. You're born believing what you believe, but you sometimes change what you believe. And so then everything else changes. And particularly in the first few days, what you believe about the way you treat yourself. Are you treating yourself according to what you believe you're worth? Are you treating yourself according to the way you believe you'll be, what role you play in the world? Or are you letting the other world or the outer world define your belief in yourself about the way you get treated? So I think that Sagittarius want to get along so much. Sometimes they'll even join the crowd in beating themselves up. It's kind of crazy, but they'll just go ahead and get behind that mom and they're like, yeah, screw her, whatever, and you're the her. So this week it's about listening to your heart. What kind of response to yourself do you deserve? Do you deserve to be put off by yourself for a few days? Do you deserve to feel bad for 3 days? Do you deserve to sit there and questioning if you believe in yourself or not? Like, why do these things linger? If you believe in yourself, let's create behaviors that support it, just like we support a sentence with a period, right? Now, the Monday event that I talk about is actually a square between Saturn, in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, North Node in Pisces, Mars in Sagittarius. My mind's got all scrambled. And what this means for you is that you're going to find yourself maybe between a rock and a hard place, between what you feel would be the best way to go, or your family's emotional needs and your ego's personal expression. And the universe is saying, you've got to first get down the feelings before you do the expression. In fact, feelings are step 2, expression is step 9. But it is time to make sure that those are both coordinated going forward, that everything your ego does also somehow serves your foundation, serves your emotional well-being, serves how grounded you feel, and doesn't serve your family, but doesn't allow your family to, disserve you, let's say. Now, this part of family is huge because Saturn goes direct. You've been working on family and home and foundation and emotions for about 2.5 years. And once Saturn's direct, the universe would like to know what exactly you're going to call home in the future. What is your definition of long-term security? What is your definition of, retirement? What's that going to look like? You got to kind of put in those details, because with Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries, it's time to pursue your personal dreams. And you're not going to have those dreams come true if you're not coming from a good home. So make some good choices this week. Remember, you're always meant to change. That's what's so cool about you. You got the galactic center in your sign. That means you have the right to just be anything you want anytime. Capricorns have all their belief in themselves based on their faith in themselves. Belief structure for you comes down to faith, which means a lot of times your beliefs are coming from past lives. Capricorn is the energy that tries to create this legacy that goes on after life. You're the ones that came up with the idea of, family lines and keeping souls in the family line. That's all you, because you download your philosophy from the last life and you play it in this one. Now, the thing is, the earth is always changing, and so is your belief structure. And so when your belief is not in alignment with your faith, or you no longer have belief in what you're doing or belief in your approach to life, you start to lose faith. Or if you start to lose faith, you could also start to not believe in yourself. So what you must understand is that belief is what your heart feels, period. If your heart feels that you're untrustworthy or that there's no faith, then they have to listen to that. There's no faith. But it also means if your heart believes that and feels that you could pull off a miracle, then you can pull off a miracle. So in a weird way, Capricorns this season are rewriting their belief structure, and probably for the first time to have a stronger, more realistic philosophy about God consciousness and spirituality. For the most part, Capricorns are always, they say, religious. They always showed up and do the right things and show up in church and do it the right way. And they like to be established in the church as important. But I don't know how much you were actually connecting. It was more philosophy. For you, it was like an idea put into motion. But I think now Capricorns are going to have true believing and true knowing when it comes to what their faith is, God, the angels, everything. Now, the real turning point will happen on Monday, actually. And it's funny how it's going to happen because it's going to be an idea that suddenly conflicts with your faith. You're going to realize that you have some idea about life that doesn't go along with what you believe, that you're operating out of context with your belief structure. If that's the case, which part of you is going to change? Most probably it's going to be your faith and your belief that's going to change. It's going to upgrade to the new times. And as a result, you'll probably have some sort of major decision or attitude about life, that becomes a policy change for everyone. Now, Saturn direct does mean that it's time to finally get out of your head. You spent 2.5 years where you realize that your karma is played out in your conversations, in your business deals, in your interactions, in your negotiations. And now that that's all clear, it's time to decide what you can do with all that extra mental space. I think Capricorns might be starting to write books. I think you're going to decide that you have an intellectual legacy, or I think you'll probably decide that you have information you want the world to know. Either way, it's going to be fascinating because Capricorns don't miss a detail. Aquariuses have their belief in themselves really rooted in humanity, which makes total sense because you rule humanities. So, of course, your belief in yourself is based on the way you see yourself in the world. But the problem is the world's changing. And from your arguments, we always needed your opinion to be included in the world. So now you start interjecting your opinion because of Pluto and Aquarius, the world's going to change. You're meant to be philosophers and teachers and poets and show us different trends that we have and archetypes that we have and point out just sort of the overall education or structure of our belief consciousness in the world and how it works. That's what Aquariuses do, whether you are, sit there on the picket lines for a union that wants to get more wages, or you're doing something amazing like being the first astronaut in space. You are always on that cutting edge of what society is going to be. So for you to believe in yourself means that you're going to bring a belief to the table. How can you be a person that is waiting for the world to accept you if you're the one that introduced the idea? That's your job, is to believe in yourself, because you've got to introduce those ideas. And the only reason why we believe it is because you said so. We believe in you. So you've got to have a kind of inside out conversation when it comes to believing in yourself. It happens first and just without proof. And then we listen to you and then we prove it for you, really, society. Now, the turning point for you will be the square that happens, which is sort of a conflict between money, and society, where you're going to realize, wow, I'm at a turning point as far as how my money karma should be gone. And I know why you guys have the money karma there, because the earth was just not really into what you do for about 26,000 years. So you really weren't that valuable to the earth, because what was valuable to the earth were things like earth signs that could make food, and water signs that can make love, and all these other things. You yourself didn't have that value, and your karma ended up pulling around what you created for a long time. But I got to tell you, the things you create are your spiritual expression, and they're meant to express who your spirit is. So, you're going to have to work out the conflicts between the way you position yourself in society and your spiritual mission to make money at your message, to make money at your spiritual mission. And you'll figure it out. You're innovative. Now, Saturn going direct in Pisces does mean that this is the end, probably for this lifetime, if you're listening, because the people who watch this show are a little older. It's the last time you're going to worry about money forever. And you might be going, where's the money? Well, the money will be probably coming in next spring when Saturn is well into Aries. But it is now time to decide how you want to be abundant, what your spiritual project is going to be, or what your compassion project. A lot of Aquarius is just focused on compassion, not spirituality. Same thing, borrowing from God, or kind of the loving care of God, same type of thing. But, committing to what you feel spiritually called to. And it may be something that we asked you to do in heaven, or maybe something that you just feel like you're the best one to do it, so you should do it. Either way, I think we're about to see Aquariuses reveal cool things next year, and that's the first time since Pluto entered your sign. Well, for the Pisces, it's an interesting journey because your philosophies of life come from your achievements. You're the only sign that sort of waits to see what you do before you know exactly what you believe. And you have beliefs out the door, like born with beliefs, but for you to I guess you can say you test theories all the time. You use your career to test theories, to explore different things, cultures, archetypes. Career for you is sort of like a playground, really. It's an adventure, it's a trip, but it's never a destination. You will always come back to where you were because you are a Pisces that swims in circles. But what's really changing is what you believe you have to believe in order to decide something for yourself. Do you have to believe in it to decide it? Do you have to, have all the rest of your life also be in concert with that? Or can one part of you believe in it and decide? Because Pisces can split in two with those two fishes. Once you have a new belief about deciding, like decisions should come from this, this, and this, then you'll find yourself on an entirely new path and a new adventure. And this is something you've been waiting a long time for, this renewal of the world needing you and the world needing your guidance. And after all, you do have the wisdom, the spiritual wisdom, and your career house is the house of education. So interesting, isn't it? Now, the turning point will likely be actually due to a character issue. There's going to be a square between Mars and the North Node. The North Node is trying to push you to act according to what your heart belongs acting. Not what you had done or what you programmed or what you think you should do, but where you belong. Belonging meaning the heart calls for it. And because the heart's calling for you to be authentic, it's going to probably put some tug of war on some issues when it comes to career legacy. You may realize that if I'm going to be authentic, I can't do this or that. Or if I'm going to do this or that, I won't be able to be authentic. So you're going to be matching career with personality, basically with these 2 points. But Saturn in Pisces for the last time says one simple thing, that you are done. The Pisces are released from captivity. You're being poured from those fish bowls into the ocean. And you now can go pursue what you're really worth. With Aries energy coming up next with Saturn and Neptune, you're going to be taking all that spirituality and probably selling it. Isn't it perfect timing, by the way, that just when the earth is ready to enlighten and heal, you're done and ready to go sell stuff? It was tough, I know. I have had Pisces. My father was a Pisces. I've been watching you all for a long time. You were born with incredible karma this lifetime, and especially the way you treat yourself and the way you allow things to happen. And so I got to tell you, you deserve a reward or an award because no sign, from my experience, went through this much of a clean out than you did. So whatever you end up doing, be easy on yourself. Be loving. Give yourself the benefit of doubt. You've done the work. You deserve it. That's all I have for this week. By the way, if you want to go deeper, we'd love to help you. We have personal guidance available at seriousjoy.com. 7 days a week, 7 text messages a day. Seriously, we will guide you in the moment. And by the way, these text messages will blow you away. They're so accurate. I have never seen another app, I'm just saying, that's as accurate as we are. We're stunningly accurate. And we start off at just $3.99 for the first month. So you should give it a try. Also, energetically, we have a daily pep talk, by the way. We have self-study halls, which teach you how to do astrology. We have an academy that teaches you deep topics. And we're the only astrology app that has step astrology, which you'll find over time is more accurate than any other. So come to seriousjoy.com. We appreciate you. Now, that said, we want to say thank you to everyone. We'll be moving forward next week. And thank you for your patience last week. I'm so grateful to be of service. Until next week, I love you. Live, love, be.